于2，所以最终我们可以得到这个是10的负6次方再乘以10的8次方，最后得到的这个最短增长是100比特。那么最后呢，我们对本节课的内容呢做一个小结。那么在本节课呢，我们希望同学们掌握以太网当中最短增长和最大增长的这个设定依据。那么局域网当中的最小有效增长呢，不能够小于征用期内传输的比特数。而考虑到网络接口和缓存的限制、多点接入的公平性以及其他的一些因素呢，所以局域网上还要规定最大传送单元 MTU 的值。我们希望大家呢会在此基础之上呢，我们就应该知道了，在这个10的负6次方秒的时间，那么在这个100兆比特每秒的这个数据率的网络当中，能够发送多少个比特呢？那么所以我们现在得到了这个公式啊，最短增长那么等于什么呢？等于2套这个征用器呢再乘以一个发送速率，所以最终我们可以得到这个是10的负6次方再乘以10的8次方，最后得到的这个最短增长是100比特。那么最后呢，我们对本节课的内容呢做一个小结。那么在本节课呢，我们希望同学们掌握以太网当中最短增长和最大增长的这个设定依据。那么局域网当中的最小有效增长呢，不能够小于征用期内传输的比特数。而考虑到网络接口和缓存的限制、多点接入的公平性以及其他的一些因素呢，所以局域网上还要规定最大传送单元 MTU 的值。我们希望大家呢会计算以太网当中的最短增长，来综合同学。
And so this was radio-based, RF-based. There was no wire.
Radio-based, RF-based. There was no wire.
And so the medium in this case was
air.
the air. The way that Aloha worked was all hosts would
transmit on one frequency.
Transmit on one frequency. So if a host has something to
If a host has send on, say,
send, it would send on, say, frequency 0. This blue is just representing the channel corresponding to frequency 0. This would be sent up to the main relay station, or the central relay station in on Oahu, and then that would be retransmitted. The packet data would be retransmitted out over frequency 1, a separate frequency, so essentially a separate orthogonal channel that would then be repeated to all end hosts. So we need a way to decide who can send when, and for this we need a protocol that everybody agrees upon so that the system will work correctly. And the first Aloha network used the Aloha MAC protocol, which is very simple. If you have data to send, transmit it. If your transmission collides with another, retry later. That was it. So very simple. You send, and then if you discover that it collided, then you would retry later. How do you know that it collided? Well, you would listen. You would send on frequency 0, and you would listen on. How do you know that it collided? Well, you would listen. You would send on frequency 0, and you would listen on frequency 1. And if what came back was not a correct copy of what you would send on frequency 0, you know it must have collided, and therefore you need to send again, and you would retry at a later time.
Hey guys! Today we're going to learn how to add this scrolling animation to your website in Wix Studio without writing a single line of code. This is a great Hey guys! Today we're going to learn how to add this scrolling animation to your website in Wix Studio without writing a single line of code. This is a great way to make your website more dynamic and grab users' attention. Here's how to make it. Now click on Stack and add another animation. Go to Wix Studio and let's create great way to make your website.
Nice thing about the Aloha
Nice thing about the Aloha protocol was
it's very simple.
that it's pretty robust against.
It's pretty robust against the failure of an end host. What do I mean?
Robust against the failure.
It's pretty robust against the failure of an end host.
Failure of an end host.
What do
I mean by this? If an end host.
I mean by this? Well, if an end host fails and just
robust. What do I mean?
Sending, then the mechanism doesn't rely on any end host being powered on.
The mechanism doesn't rely on any end host being
on or correctly operating, because it'll just stop sending packets. There is a failure condition if it
It's a failure condition. It just starting jabbering away.
just starts jabbering away, sending packets that are meaningless. It can actually bring down communication for everyone else. So that's why we say that it's quite robust against failure. The protocol is
distributed, and it's distributed in the sense that
distributed.
The protocol is very simple, robust against failure of a host. The protocol is distributed among the hosts. Under low load, we can expect the delay to be small. Under high load, a lot of time wasted sending packet and collide.
It's distributed in the sense that it's actually operating independently on all of the end hosts. They all independently decide for themselves. Under low load, when there are very few hosts. Under low load, when there are very few hosts sending, or they're sending at a very low rate, they're sending infrequently, we can expect the delay to be small. Nearly any host that has data to send will find that the channel is free when it wants to send its packet. So it's very likely to get through first time with very little trouble. It doesn't have to wait for some coordinating mechanism. It just sends. We can expect for themselves. Under low load, when there are very few hosts sending, or they're sending at a very low rate. They're sending infrequently. We can expect the delay to be small. Nearly any host that has data to send will find that the channel is free when it wants to send its packet. So it's very likely to get through first time with very little trouble. It doesn't have to wait for some coordinating mechanism. It just sends, discovers that it gets through, and that's great. Under high load, a lot of
time can be wasted sending packets.
Time can be wasted sending packets that collide. Because under high load, the chances are that there are other hosts wanting to send at the same time. And so, as a consequence, generally speaking, the Aloha protocol is thought to have very low performance. And in fact, studies and theory and simulations have all suggested that under high load, you can show that the wasted time is so high, we can only achieve 20% throughput, 18% in fact. So over 80% of the time is spent on transmissions that collide under very heavy load. Clearly we need to improve performance. There were many papers in the 1970s and 80s on this.
18th on this topic of how to improve networks like this.
Topic of how to improve networks like this. And the technique most widely
adopted for wide networks is called
CSMACD, and it was used for Ethernet. And you can see some of the ideas here for
listen for activity, carry a sense before sending a packet, have the collection, quickly install transmitting, have the collision, pick random waiting time based on the load.
Improving performance. One is, instead of just going ahead and sending, regardless of whether anyone else is sending, you could actually listen for activity first. This is the carrier sense part of CSMACD. So you listen first of all to check
whether anyone else is sending before sending a packet.
before sending a packet. If they are, you wait. If they're not, then probably your packet will get through okay. The next one is to try and detect collisions quickly and stop transmitting. If you take your time to detect the collision, or you wait until the packet is over, then you've wasted all of that time. If you can detect it very, very quickly, back off, and then try again. Take your time to try and detect collisions quickly and stop transmitting. If you take your time to detect the collision, or you
wait until the packet is over.
Then you've wasted all of that time. If you can detect it very, very quickly, back off, and then try again later. Then you can improve the performance. And the third one is after there has been
a collision, pick a random waiting time that is based on the load.
Pick a random waiting time that is based on the load. In other words, pick a
random time.用100除以这个20的8次方，再乘一个2，得到这个套是往返时延。套一般叫 RTT 或者叫套，然后用往返时延。往返时延等于真长除以数据率。真长度等于往返时间乘以这个数字率。